Hi guys, my name's Carly. This video is going to be all about how I clear my hormonal cystic acne with no Accutane, no antibiotics, no long list of vitamins or anything like that. How I clear my skin is super simple and easy. This is something I've been dealing with on and off for about 4.5 years now, and I feel like I finally found what it was that was causing my acne, how to clear it, and how to keep it clear. Now obviously this is just what has worked for me and my skin. However, I do feel like what was causing my acne could be the cause of a lot of other people's as well. And that's why I wanted to share this, because I know how frustrating it can be to have severe acne, and I know how hopeless it can feel when you're researching how to clear it, and all that comes up is either medications you don't want to take or really expensive regimens or really complicated regimens, one of which may work for you, but you're going to have to spend a ton of money to try to figure out which one that is. And so I thought that by sharing my experience, I could provide people who are struggling with severe acne with something that's really easy to try, but that's not going to break the bank if it doesn't work for you. So before I get into exactly what I did to clear my skin, I do just want to give a brief history of what my skin has been through these past few years, just because I feel like it's important when explaining what did and didn't work for me. So the winter of 2015 was the first time that I had ever broken out in severe acne. I had had acne here and there before, but nothing like this. This was full-on severe acne. I'll go ahead and insert a picture here, but just so you know, it did get a lot worse than this. I was just way too uncomfortable to take a picture of myself past this point, but it did get worse than this. So I knew from the very beginning that I didn't want to go on any medication to clear my skin, just because, you know, with Accutane, it's such a harsh drug and there's all those side effects, and I kind of looked at that as more of a last resort. And then with antibiotics, I had just read a lot about how even though they might help to clear your skin to begin with, that your skin could break out even worse once you're off the antibiotic. And besides that, I really wanted to figure out why I was breaking out all of a sudden and kind of fix the root of the problem, and I felt like the medications were more fixing the symptom of the problem. I wanted to figure out why I was breaking out and fix it that way. So I tried a lot of different things to help clear my skin. I cut out dairy, I cut back on meat at one point. I was using all sorts of like natural DIY masks with honey and cinnamon and egg yolk and apple cider vinegar and all sorts of crazy stuff. But none of that was working, and my skin was getting worse and worse by the day. And I finally became just so depressed and fed up with my skin that I did go ahead and go to a dermatologist to get prescribed an antibiotic. Like I said, at that point I was just so depressed and the acne was affecting every part of my life. So I didn't even care that it could come back worse later. I just needed it gone now. So I ended up being prescribed an antibiotic and Epiduo, which is just like a topical treatment cream. And actually those two things started working almost immediately. I swear it was like a week and my skin was completely clear. So I stayed on those medications for 6 months, and then I would say my skin stayed clear for about another 6 months after I was off of them. And then I started breaking out again, and this time it was much worse. I felt like it came on a lot quicker. My pores were larger. I was even more inflamed. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I still don't want to go on Accutane, and clearly the antibiotic didn't work long term. So I had remembered that the Epiduo had really helped calm my skin topically. So I went ahead and got a refill on that prescription. And then I was like, okay, I need to get a whole new skincare regimen, because obviously my skin is not happy with what I've been doing. And at that point I was using a coconut oil to take off my makeup, which now I know is horrible because it's comedogenic, I think is how you say it. But basically that just means that it's pore clogging, so you should not use coconut oil to take off your makeup. And then I was using a Cetaphil cleanser. So I ended up coming across acne.org, and what I liked about the regimen is that they included an oil to take off your makeup and to add to your moisturizer. And I had read a lot about how people with oily, acne-prone skin should use oils on their skin because they help to pull out the bad oils and kind of just balance out your oil production. And the oil that they provided was a jojoba oil, which is non-comedogenic. I really hope I'm saying that right. Non-comedogenic, which is non-pore clogging. So I went ahead and I ordered that whole regimen and ended up only using the jojoba oil to take off my makeup, the cleanser to cleanse my face, and the moisturizer. And then I would use the Epiduo as a spot treatment, which was basically my whole face. And then the next thing I did, which I believe is probably the most important thing I did and the thing that has helped my skin the most, was I changed my diet. So like I said before, I really wanted to cure my acne by fixing the root of the problem and figuring out why I was breaking out. And I knew there had to be something wrong with me internally with my hormones, and the only way I knew how to fix my hormones without medication was to change the way I ate. So I started eating paleo, which is a no processed foods way of eating. No gluten, no grains, no dairy, no unnatural sugars. All of those things cause inflammation in the body and hormonal issues, which are obviously two huge factors when it comes to hormonal cystic acne. By changing all of those things, my skincare regimen and my diet, I was able to clear my cystic acne within about a month. And since doing that, I have not broken out that bad since. I did start to break out again a little bit about a year ago. It was nothing severe, but I just started to notice that I was getting more pimples, like maybe 1 to 2 a week instead of 1 to 2 a month. And I just felt like it was something that could turn into severe acne if I didn't figure out why I was breaking out. So I started looking into what I could be doing that could be causing it. I was using the same skincare regimen. I was still eating paleo, so I really didn't know what it was. But then I came across this podcast, and I believe it was the Rachel Hollis podcast. But she had this woman on there named Kelly LeBecki, and she was on there promoting her new book called Body Love. And Body Love is a nutritional book about her take on nutrition as somebody with a medical science background. And I was just really intrigued by the way she talked about food and how she used her medical science background to really explain how certain foods can affect your body and how they can be the cause of some illnesses and conditions, including hormonal acne. I learned a lot from her by just listening to the podcast, so I went ahead and I ordered her book, and I found 3 things that I was doing that were causing me to break out. So the first thing I learned was that I was eating way too many good sugars. So in the book, she explains that all sugars, no matter if they're processed or natural, like in fruit or maple syrup, they all affect our bodies the same exact way. And when we eat too many of either of these sugars, it can cause hormonal imbalances, hence hormonal acne. So I was eating way too many of these good natural sugars. I was baking paleo desserts all the time, which have like a ton of coconut sugar and maple syrup and bananas in them. And then I was eating like 2 Lara bars a day, which if you don't know what a Lara bar is, it's basically just a bar made out of dates and nuts and seeds, which is great because it's all really simple natural ingredients, but it's mostly dates, which is mostly sugar. So I just became more mindful about how much of that stuff I was eating and cut back on them significantly because I was eating a lot. And then the second thing I learned was that I was not eating enough good fats. Although I wasn't afraid of good fats because they really encourage that in the paleo diet, I just don't think I was eating enough. And she explains how fat is essential in having healthy skin and balanced hormones as well. So I just started adding a lot more good fats to my diet. I would add MCT oil in my coffee. I would put olive oil on everything. I started eating even more avocado. And again, I just became more mindful about the kinds of nutrients I was putting in my body, and I was not afraid of good fats. And then the third thing I learned kind of blew me away just because my whole life I had thought and done the opposite. And that is to eat every 4 to 6 hours rather than every 2 to 3. So I feel like we've all been told to eat 6 small meals a day, every 2 to 3 hours. It's going to keep your metabolism up. It's going to keep you thin. But she explains in the book how this is such a myth, and the science that she uses to explain why makes so much more sense. So I don't want to get too far into explaining it, but basically our bodies take 4 to 6 hours to digest our food, and when we eat in between those 4 to 6 hours, we're interrupting that digestion process, which not only throws your hormones out of whack, but it's also hard on the gut. And it's pretty well known that having a healthy gut is essential for having healthy skin and just your overall health in general. So I was kind of nervous to incorporate this one just because I am a huge snacker. I was that person that would eat like every hour and a half. But honestly, it was actually really easy because I was eating so much fat, and fat really helps to curb your hunger and keep you full. And it was actually kind of freeing to not be constantly thinking about food and what I'm going to eat next. Alright, so I already told you what I did to clear my skin, but just to reiterate, I used the acne.org regimen, but I just used the jojoba oil to take off my makeup, the cleanser to cleanse my face, and the moisturizer. And then I would use the Epiduo as a spot treatment. I use a totally different regimen now. The only thing I still use is the jojoba oil. I've just added a lot of things for like anti-aging and texture, but I feel like when you have active acne, it's really important to be super gentle on your skin. So that's why I use such a simple regimen when I was healing my skin. And then I just changed my way of eating to a low processed foods, low sugar, high good fat diet. And I eat less often. I try to just eat 2 to 3 times a day, so that way I'm not having constant spikes and dips in my hormones. And I don't eat like this 100% of the time. I shoot for about 80% of the time. I haven't completely cut out any food at all. However, I do notice that when I have a week or 2 of really straying off from that diet, I start to break out more. And that's how I know this way of eating really works for me and why I feel like it's the most important part of healing my skin. If you take one thing away from this video, I would definitely recommend that it be changing your way of eating. I truly believe that diet can be the solution to many health issues, acne just being one of them. And again, it's not something you have to become obsessed with. Like I said, I only eat like this probably 80% of the time, and it's kept my skin pretty clear. And when I say clear, I mean clear of any cystic acne. Of course, I still get breakouts here and there, especially around that time of the month. However, they're very mild compared to what I used to get, and the pimples themselves are much smaller and they heal a lot quicker. So yeah, that's it. That's all I did to clear my skin. I really hope that this video was helpful. I'll go ahead and link all the products and the book I talked about down below. I know I just briefly talked about that book and gave very short explanations to the science behind everything, but if you're interested in that book, she really does do a good job of explaining in depth the science of everything, but making it really easy to read and understand. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye.